Greetings and salutations, fellow peoples. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Big Rich X, and today we will be going over how to total war in the next chapter. It's Kairos Fateweaver. This was requested by the Real Be Real in a joking manner, but I will do the video nonetheless because it was requested by one of my subscribers. Real is a Tzeentch fanatic and knows I am irked at making this video, but I do what the people ask. So, if you want to see another legendary lord in the How to Total War series, be sure to leave a comment below, like the video, share it, yada yada yada. Without any further ado, we're going straight to Immortal Empires. We're going straight to Tzeentch, and we're going on over to the first, and for a long time, the only Lord of Tzeentch before the Changeling was added, but we'll get to him later, Kairos Fateweaver. This bird boy's got two heads, one that can see the past and one that can see the future, but the present is always obscured. He's a crazy little spellcaster that can fly and zip around the battlefield and cause all sorts of damage to yourself and your units. It's not good. It's not good. The real strong point of a lot of Tzeentch units is a barrier that can replenish over time. So, if you're going to play Tzeentch in any capacity or have Tzeentch units, what I strongly recommend is learn how to micromanage better. Cycle charging with your cavalry or larger units, monstrous units, will be huge. His ranged units, especially his Exalted Flamers, are incredibly powerful at dealing with chafe and infantry. With Tzeentch and just with Kairos Fateweaver in general, you're going to be relying heavily on magic. This is the big bird boy himself in all his magical glory. He's got the iconic, blue, purple, pink colors of Tzeentch, or what Tzeentch is often associated with, and is most commonly compared to Lord of Change, but Kairos is the Lord of Change. He has a fairly easy starting point because, as you can see, he's sort of in the Southern Chaos Wastes or the Antarctic, way south, so you can build fairly large armies without having to worry about large ones invading or causing problems for you. You can also get fairly easy access to two of the main continents of the Warhammer 3 map, and of course pause for lore. He has a fairly weak starting army, but again, that barrier, that's an extra 1,500 damage that is negated, or 1,000 damage that's negated, but each unit has some barrier to protect from that initial brunt attack. But he has very strong ranged units, and taking him out is a nightmare, especially if you are going up against him, whether it's AI or in PvP, but especially PvP. He is a very strong spellcaster, and he can, in fact, mess with global politics, but we'll get to that later once we get into the actual gist and meat, I should say, of his campaign. But without any further ado, we'll load in. Smash cut to loaded in. And we're loaded in. We start here in hell, essentially. Yeah, so we'll get a nice little look at his character model on the campaign map. He is a disgusting bird creature. You get a cultist automatically, but I always embed these guys in the army. We gotta exit out of that. But anyways, how to play Tzeentch. This is a quick run through. Your fragments of sorcery are going to be huge when you go and bring spells into battle. Basically, you can collect and use just about every spell in existence. It's like, knows every sigil, sign, and quirk of mystical power in existence, though he cannot marshal his knowledge of the winds of magic without a modicum of preparation. Fragments of sorcery can construct his own spell lore. So, if you wanted to, you can get a bunch of random ones. You can select them, I believe. But again, spellcasting is going to be your strong suit. I don't particularly enjoy playing spellcasters. I prefer a more engaged, melee-focused lord. But if spellcasting is your thing, you want to get all Harry Potter in this bish, Kairos might be the guy for you. Grimoires are going to be important as well, as you can begin affecting things in the world. You start off with 100, but you gain grimoires through various means: battles, buildings, characters, events, so on and so forth. This will all be zoomed up in the video, so don't worry, you can read it all fairly clearly. Same with the how to play. Anyways, the changing of ways we will get to. You can use teleport to go basically anywhere you want on the map. Well, that's a later use of the grimoires. You have a stance that you can do to teleport if need be. And then ensure the spread of Tzeentch corruption to aid his participation in the Great Game. The Great Game is the battle between Tzeentch, Slaanesh, Nurgle, and Khorne, but that's another video that has been described endless times by a multitude of Warhammer creators. And you can learn more about it in other videos. I won't go into the depths of it here, but it's basically the 4 Chaos Gods pitted against one another for all time. You can then also get Unholy Manifestations, which are different buffs and boons at the cost of, well, not at the cost of anything, but you just need to have a certain level of corruption before they can manifest. So, you know, with this one, you can gain grimoires per turn, but you also lose Winds of Magic. You'll also gain grimoires in post-battle loot. Here, it'll enable an attrition for any army, regardless of their immunities. This will increase, the Magic Flare will increase barrier hit points, ammunition, and range, which is huge for Tzeentch because he's very strong ranged units and very strong barriers. His late-game infantry is also very strong, but his early stuff is pretty weak, so be careful with your movements. And then Night of Madness is his final and strongest one. Is campaign movement is disabled during completion time, which is 3 turns, but after that you will get 15 plus Winds of Magic per turn. The control will be minus 50 for a local enemy province, and then Tzeentch corruption will go up 25, so you'll sow chaos, but you need to hit that minimum corruption of 2,000 first. Anyways, the big part of my boy Kairos here is his use of grimoires. They are very strong for just if you are dealing with an annoying faction, or for instance in PvP, like the campaign I currently have with the Real Be Real, where I'm Khorne and he is Tzeentch. You can halt an army, which he's been doing a lot, and it can also just prevent them from attacking you. You can force a war between other factions, transfer settlements to sow even more chaos, break alliances, open gates, force peace, borrow time, reveal shrouds, and then track armies. It is a very, very powerful set of change that can be very annoying. So, for instance, like you want to go to war with this Elven faction, but they're too strong right now. You can force this other Tzeentch satellite faction to engage in war with them regardless of their status, and that goes for everything. So for instance, the Empire and Dwarves usually ally late game. You can force them to break their alliance. You can force them to go to war. Granted, it all costs grimoires, but if you have enough, you can basically control the world, and that's what makes Kairos pretty cool. I don't like him, but he has some very cool abilities. And again, you can manipulate Winds of Magic in your favor, plus or minus, so that you can cast more spells in battle. We'll get a look at Kairos' sort of skill sheet. I just blanked on my words. My brain had a fart. So you'll notice where he commonly has spell slots is just random. So, Fate is mine to command, is his little spell slots. You'll notice that they're not labeled anything because he gets random spells every battle. Now, there are certain spells that you can get, I'm pretty sure, that unlock permanently with various items or uses and whatnot. Of course, he has buffs to his units, buffs to his spells, of course, and him as a lord personally. Fairly complicated, in my opinion, when it comes to everything that I've seen. And then we go to our fragments of sorcery. So here's where you can sort of change your spells that you want. But you notice... excuse me, I'm real burpy after eating. You'll notice that you can swap out whatever spells you want to prep for a battle. So for instance, you know you're going to be dealing with some high-level lords. You're going to want Spirit Leech to really just hone in on the lord themselves. And then you're going to want to clear up some chafe or cause some panic. So maybe you'll get an Awakening of the Wood, cause a bit of an explosion, disrupt a unit, fairly cheap and easy to use. Now, once you get different spell slots unlocked, here you can have all of these unlocked and then select any spell pretty much in the base game that you want. I currently have the Radius mods installed, which makes it fairly interesting for all factions. Do with that what you will, but again, manage your spells appropriately because sometimes they can be a bit chaotic, and that's the whole point. You got this freaking eyeball following your cursor the entire time because Tzeentch knows. Tzeentch sees you. He's always watching, chat. He's always watching. He is the changer of ways, but this is Kairos himself. He's got this little fart gas spewing out of him all the time. Fairly decent starting stats, but the main thing is that he can fly and he's a spellcaster, so he can avoid pretty much most units and then just fly around the map and cause chaos. His big things are his early effects, but he'll get more once he unlocks his quest, which is the Staff of Tomorrow. It just increases corruption and miscast base chance, and then you can decrease your cooldowns with its ability. So he doesn't have like a whole bunch of armors and swords because it isn't needed, because he's a massively powerful spellcaster. Tzeentch hates Nurgle the most, so you do get those buffs against fighting Nurgle. But again, spellcasting is going to be your strong suit. I'm going to swap this to the Pink Fire of Tzeentch, just to keep it pink and Tzeentchian and all that fun stuff. I like Spirit Leech as an early spell, especially against some stronger melee lords, so they don't have as great of an effect in battle. But anyways, we're going to embed that cultist, like I said, just so he's in that army, give us a little extra mobility. And then, of course, we have our tech tree, which also sometimes costs grimoires, but mainly costs time. For now, I'm just going to go with cooldown to Tzeentch and metal spells. I'm going to focus on spellcasting. Now, I got a spellcaster lord. I want my spells to be as effective as possible. Now, let's go into battle and just show you how you want to play Tzeentch early. We got just a basic Nurgle faction to go up against, but we'll smash cut to the battle now. Anywho, chat, it is time. It is time for the Lord of Change to get something going and change his fate. We're going to channel magic and just risk it. Total power, you have channeled the winds of magic. Tzeentch is on our side this time around. I think if you play Tzeentch, you gotta roll the dice with this constantly, because it just makes too much sense. So they're a completely melee-based army right now. What I am going to do is just send in the ranged units, the flamers and whatnot, because these blue and pink hordes, they also have a little bit of range before they go into melee, but this exalted flamer can cause a lot of damage. We have some Chaos Furies, and then of course the Lord of Change himself. But we'll do a missile front first and go from there. And I'm gonna actually move them over a bit, just so hopefully we engage outside of this tree cover, because trees provide just a minuscule amount of cover for units, and I want to make sure the flamers can do their job. Okay, Nurgle, what do you got planned for me? But because they have no ranged units, I can send in Kairos relatively quickly and without worry. Not that I would be worried, because he has a 1400 health barrier that recharges. He also has a 9600 health pool, which is very strong. I'm going to send in my cavalry against these plague toads just to be on the safe side so they don't disrupt my... So their lord also has a spirit leech, not a problem. We'll just spirit... See, well, that spirit leech, it doesn't go past my barrier. He don't have a barrier, so his health is getting directly affected. And that's the Exalted Flamer. The Exalted Flamer is just so freaking cool. And you'll notice the flames and everything else is a no bueno. And I'm getting Kairos out of this fight immediately. Lords will sometimes just auto-attack, so you have to be careful with that. That is the micromanaging part. So we lost a bit of his barrier, but he's okay. We're going to get this Tzeentchian flame right here. Do good damage there. So AI lords are usually pretty dumb and will cast Spirit Leech on units. That is not something you're going to want to do. These Screamers or Tzeentch are basically, they function similarly to Chaos Furies with just a bit different and better stats, but they function the same. They're meant mainly to disrupt ranged units, not be engaged in prolonged melee contact. So we'll get them out of there. You know, we'll send Kairos in. But see, he hasn't lost a shred of health, and he's back up to 1200. We're going to get this Spirit Leech cast one more time on this dude. We'll focus fire our blue horrors and pink dudes and everybody. And then we'll send that over. And their lord is dead. Cast more spells. This little fireball. I was like, oh man, I'm running out of power. Let's increase our power recharge for this dude and get those spells back quicker. Or my reserves per second increase, so it just makes sense. So there goes that whole army. Like, that's how quick Tzeentch can end battles. Granted, it's just the initial fight and whatnot, and it shouldn't really have a grand effect on anything. It's mainly to introduce you to your character and your lord. But very solid damage throughout. Kairos did 6k on just a few spells casted. Not a whole lot of kills, but there wasn't a whole lot of units. 9,000 damage from these pink horrors, and then just a top-tier job all around through the ranged units. While they can fight in melee, they're going to be best suited for clearing out low-tier infantry, because that's basically what you want to do with your Tier 1 units, is take out the enemy's Tier 1 units. If anything, you'd want them to act as chafe or do some initial damage to their high-tier units, but for the most part, chafe is going to fight chafe. There will be some instances where you can slow down units, but you mainly want to start getting some infantry so that these guys can continue to basically unload their blue or pink fire, whatever it is they're firing at. You want them to be uninterrupted in that. So protect your ranged units, cast your spells, you'll be just fine. So you get some grimoires from the battle, you get some favor, and you get some experience. Right now, I'm just going to go Winds of Magic because, again, spellcaster. We're going to take this initial settlement, or we already have this settlement, and we'll go to our building browser. This is where you recruit your troops and you build up your economy. So right now, with early settlements, I try to focus mainly on growth, just so I can get access to higher tiers quicker. So we'll get growth. I don't necessarily need income or control, and I want grimoires, of course, so we'll get those built as well. Or actually, since this goes to a tier 4, I'm going to want to build that in Fateweaver's crevasse. That's the important thing to take note of. Don't build, and this will be marked for you, don't build buildings that have a tier 4 or higher in your minor settlements. Those go in your capitals. So that's where you're going to be recruiting most of your higher tier units, is in your capitals. So make sure that that is secured first, because that's going to be the heavy hitter. Also, it will help against plagues and, of course, constructing and gaining grimoires per turn. So we'll get the hidden library built here in Fateweaver's crevasse. And then I'm going to take a look at some of their infantry units. I want some of those. And then cavalry is also very strong for Tzeentch because of that barrier. The cycle charging is massive. So, boom. We'll get these guys later. And actually, I'm gonna remove that and get this unit, the Spark, because this will get us our Flamers and Exalted Flamers, which just cause an ungodly amount of damage. I cannot stress to you, Changebringers. Changebringers can melt high-tier lords like it's nobody's business. And that's coming from a Scarbrand player who's seen his units get absolutely annihilated because of those guys. So we'll still get infantry units from our servants tier tree. There are other infantry units you can get, obviously higher tier, but right now I want to get Flamers and Exalted Flamers as quickly as possible. And then we're primarily focusing on growth, but we can always build a little bit more, so we'll get something here to get some extra income and growth eventually, or a little bit of growth with focus on income. So focus on your growth, get your higher tier units, get your higher tier buildings to recruit said units, focus on your magic and your grimoires, and that, folks, is how you play Kairos Fateweaver. Have fun controlling, manipulating, and otherwise screwing around with global politics from the safety of the southern continent, because nobody really wants to march through all of the other units to get to you. So feel free to expand when you want to. Don't rush anything. Get your higher tier units and then start to expand. But yeah, that's how you play Kairos Fateweaver. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. And let me know which lord you would like to see next. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye, guys. Bye. Bye-bye.